So in the last video, we worked through this example and solved a linear system, and we noticed that one of these variables was a free variable. So I want to talk more about what it means to be a free variable, as well as the other types of variables that we can have when we're solving systems. Okay, so let's look at this x3 from the previous example. And we say that x3 is a free variable if its corresponding column in A let's say in a matrix A is not a pivot column. Okay, so this x3 here, once we row reduced it, x3, third column, we don't have a pivot row. There's no pivot position here, so that means that x3 is going to be a free variable. Okay, so let's look at the different kinds of variables that we can encounter. All right, so the first is just our basic variables. All right, so we have basic variables where the leading coefficient in that column is a 1. So if we look at the previous example, once we row reduced our augmented matrix, the leading coefficient in this column is 1. The leading coefficient in this column is 1. So that tells us that x1 and x2 are just basic variables. All right, and so for our free variables, we'll have columns without a leading 1 coefficient. So this is what I'm using for without. Okay. All right, so let's look at some more examples and work on finding general solutions and writing them in parametric form. Okay, so here are some examples. We want to find the general solutions of the underlying system in the RREF matrices. So all of the matrices, the augmented matrices that I'll write here, are already in RREF, so no work to be done. We just have to determine the system. And then we are also going to circle the pivot positions. Okay. All right, so let's look at our first example. So this example, I'm going to go column by column. We have four rows here. So we're going to have a 1, 0, 0, 0. Then next, we're going to have 0, 1, 0, 0. Then we have 3, 0, 0, 0. Then we have 0, 0, 1, 0. And then 2, negative 4, 9, 0. And that equals negative 2, 1, 2, 0. All right, so this is a big one, augmented matrix. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, so we'll be solving for x1 through x5. Okay, let's go ahead and circle the pivot positions first. I think that will help us. So we have a pivot position if we have a 1 with zeros above and below it. So in this situation or system, we only have 3 pivot positions. So that should tell us how many free variables we're going to have. 1 and 2. So x3 and x5 are going to be free. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and write out our solution. All right, so x1, I'm going to start with a -2 and move everything over. So we'll have a -3x3 and a -2x5. Notice that our free variables are going to be inside here. So when we solve for our basic variables, we're going to be using our free variables to do that. All right, x2. All right, we got a 1 here, so we can solve for x2. So we're going to do 1 and then add the 4, x5. x3, so we're looking at the third column. There is no pivot here. All right, so we know that x3 is free. x4, column 4, so we got 2 minus 9x5. And finally, x5, we got nothing here, right, in the pivot, so x5 is free. Right, and so this is our general solution, and it's in parametric form. All right, so make sure you pause and go back to make sure you see where I got all of these numbers from. Okay, let's look at a few more examples. Got down the columns, I got 1, 0, 0, 1, 4, 2, and we equal 7, 3. And I'm going to circle my pivot positions, so the ones with zeros above and below. So I have 2 pivot positions, but I have an extra column, so I know I'm going to have a free variable here. So when I solve, I get x1, 7 minus 4x3, x2, so second column, x2, 3 minus 2x3, and then x3, there's no pivot, so x3 is free. I think I can squeeze another example on this page. Third example. We got 1, 0, 0, 1, 2, 4. Notice here that every column has a pivot position. Okay, so let's see, what does that tell us about the amount of free variables we are going to have? We won't have any. Okay. So x1 is 2, and x2 is 4. This is a unique solution. Because we don't have any free variables. All right, so remember when we have free variables, we can use any numbers we want for our free variables, so we're going to have infinitely many solutions. But here, we just have a unique solution. And let's look at one more example. One zero zero, 0 1 0, 2 1 0, and then 0 0 1. All right, so I actually want you guys to circle the pivot positions and let me know what you think about the solution here, and I will share the solution in the next video.